Please stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Thought it should have meant, namely that the state will not interfere in religions, except of course to maintain public order, and will be neutral to who will be in government, who will get promoted, who will get admissions on the question of religion. Certain safeguards have to be provided for the minority, because the majority is 83%, and it shouldn't swamp the minorities by majority vote in a democracy. But unfortunately, the way the Gandhis have practiced, Nehru-Gandhi hyphenated, have practiced secularism in India has meant basically the pandering to minority interests. For example, if a Muslim marries more than one wife, he is permitted under the law, because that's what the Shariat allows him. I think he can marry 4 times.
Oh, really? In India?
In India. And if he says simply talaq, talaq, talaq 3 times, the divorce is instantaneous. I mean, this is totally abhorrent to modern civil law. But Hindus are subject to modern civil law. There is a statute passed by Parliament which regulates Hindu marriages, but not Islamic marriages. We say, why should there be 2 laws in the country? Similarly, in the state of Kashmir, Hindus cannot go and settle down in the state of Kashmir and start businesses there and so on, because the Jawaharlal Nehru said that the Muslim proportion should not be reduced by people coming from the rest of India to occupy lands there. So there are a lot of discrimination against the Hindus, and therefore secularism has got to be discredited.
This is interesting, because in a nation that is, well, the homeland for at least 4 faiths, I think Jainism, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Sikhism, and is a homeland to the Zoroastrians and other religions, it strikes me as the challenges are immense anyway, because the polyglot nation. You're in government, you've been the president of a political party since 1990. What are the challenges that face you?
The only challenge that faces me are 2 extremes. One is, I shouldn't allow the sentiment to snowball into a fascist suppression of minorities.
Okay.
And this happened in Germany when people didn't articulate nationalism properly, and a corporal came and totally distorted the future of Germany. If there is a vacuum, somebody is going to fill it. And there is a vacuum today on an enlightened view of Hinduism. They want a Hindu identity, they want an Indian identity which is in synchronization with Hindu identity. Those urges are there, somebody has to do it.
Racial politics.
It's not racial, there's nothing racial about India. The DNA science research has now shown that we are all the same people.
Right.
We didn't come from anywhere abroad, we are all indigenous to India. But this is the one extreme. The other extreme is that without a well-defined Indian identity, we will not be able to progress as a nation, because we've got 130 million Muslims who are being told that they are transnational. They are not, they are Muslims first and Indians second. Now we've got to tell them something by which we don't hurt their feelings.
Who's telling them this?
Oh, Osama bin Laden is telling them, the Al-Qaeda is telling them. And they are making inroads. Because there's nothing else to challenge that concept. And we have to do that, and we have to define an Indian identity where Muslim has to place Indian interests above even their religious interests.
Now, as I understand it, there's a system of reservations or quotas for hiring and placement in certain positions, applying for school, etc. Is that working?
Well, as far as reservations is concerned, the part that's not working is the proposal to reserve quotas, provide quotas for Muslims and Christians, and to some extent other castes besides the ex-untouchables. As far as the ex-untouchables is concerned, there's unanimity that these people have suffered imposed disabilities. These disabilities that they have today are not something they have acquired by lack of concern for education, whatever. This has been imposed on them by the rest of society. So we have to compensate for that, and that there is no debate on that.
Okay.
The debate arises whether we should give it to other castes also, and Christians and Muslims, merely because they are poor. Because the poverty becomes a concept, then it should also apply for higher castes of India, who are also equally poor. For instance, the Brahmins are supposed to be caste-wise itself poor. The Brahmins are amongst the poorest people in India today, even though they still enjoy high social status. Now, there's no reservation for them. So I think what is being argued is that for a successful reservation or affirmative action program, those other castes who have not suffered any imposed disabilities, you provide them scholarships, you provide them good education, you improve your educational system so that everybody can compete.
This form of social engineering, such as you have it now, has it worked?
It has it will not work. It has worked in the sense for the scheduled caste, it has made a lot of difference. A lot of people have come in high places. We have had a president who's from the ex-untouchable caste. We have now Chief Justice of the Supreme Court who's from the ex-untouchable caste. Now the Chief Minister is not only a scheduled caste, but she's also a woman in the state of Uttar Pradesh. So we have scheduled caste climbing up the social ladders all along the way. And that's happening, maybe not fast enough, but certainly happening about as fast as the system can bear. But where it is not working is the attempt to give reservations to these non-imposed disabilities.
So, for example, I could be a person as a Brahmin, and my family could, for 2 or 3 generations, have been disadvantaged economically,
yeah.
and the deck is stacked against me?
Yes, it is stacked against you because you can't afford a good school, and you can't therefore compete in competitive exams for the IITs and the IIMs. So the question is, the Brahmin says, what have I done? I mean, that I should be discriminated. Why the Muslims and Christians have ruled the country for 1,000 years together, sequentially, and they are to get reservations, but not me. So that's where the tension is arising.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. Faith Journal continues after this break.